are you doing? I hope you're fine. My name is NDUNG'U. Always a pleasure to be here with you. Every Monday I shall be uploading a new video, and I hope that you will walk this journey with me. We have been talking about weddings and wedding planning, and it hit me that some of you maybe are in a space where you're not even sure if the person you're dating is the right person. Some of you are also maybe in a space where you're not sure how even to find the right spouse. Some of you are not even intentional in your dating, and I decided I want to do this particular vlog for you, and I hope that it helps you in even knowing what the right spouse is for you. So when you say that you're looking for a right spouse, it means it is someone that is morally good, justified, and acceptable according to you. Sawa sawa. And this, before I begin, also begins with who you are as a person and what you prefer. Preferences are very important when you're looking for a spouse. Remember, we are different people, different kind of everything, and we are peculiar, meaning your uniqueness stipulates the kind of person you want. Of course, there will be some general things that are similar across board in terms of we all want people that are supportive as women. We want someone who is a provider. We want a visionary. We want a leader and all those things. But of course, in terms of now going to specifics, as much as he's a visionary and he's a leader and he's all these things that maybe we have bracketed as women, there are also things that come in hand where we now look at the personality, because I'm different personality, where we look at in terms of my preference, maybe I like tall guys, I like short guys, because they're all this kind of people in terms of the people we are relating with. So number one, I would say, is when you're looking for the right person, know your preferences. What do you like? What don't you like? Because you cannot be attracted to something that you don't like. Meaning, if me, I like short people, if I get someone who is tall, I won't be as comfortable. Is it something that you can compromise on? If you are someone like a guy and you like someone who is plump, someone who is huge like myself, and you get someone who is petite, you won't be as comfortable, because you will tend to always look for someone who is bigger than what you have got. So again, in terms of preferences, as much as maybe your preference is something, we also have to discuss, can you work without or with what you have found? Because if your preferences are too big for you to always like go back to, then that means that is something that you need to have. If it's something that you cannot compromise on, it means that you need it, so that it will help you even as you relate with your spouse, so that you don't also have that need to cheat. Yeah, so you have to also be able to work to compromise on something so that you can get your right person. And when we are talking about right, we are not talking about perfect, because we don't have a perfect person. We are just talking about the right person, and we have defined right as morally good, justified, and acceptable. It is good and justified and acceptable to you. It doesn't mean that it is perfect. So don't be on the lookout for the perfect person. Be on the lookout on someone that you can justify. Ukisema mimi napenda huyu kwa sababu ya ABCD, mimi napenda huyu kwa sababu ya 4 5 6, it is acceptable to you, and you can justify the acceptability. So sindio, tuko sawa, tuko pamoja. So preference is one of those things. Number two is, especially now, let's talk about you, who you're in that space where hata uko sure kama uko na hiyo preference in the first place, hata ujui unapenda nini ama upendi nini. I would tell you to look at your past, the people that you've dated before. I noticed with my case, my husband is so similar to the people that I've dated before. The only difference was the color. He's lighter, everyone else was dark. And I learned that I actually love not tall people, someone who is almost my height or preferably a bit taller. Na hiyo ndio type nilikuwa na date. Sawa. And my husband is also my height. Amenishindana ka inch or 2. He's my height. He's shorter like the others. The others were loving, they were caring. He's the same. Like, I didn't have it written down like other girls that do. So if you're in that space where you don't have it written down, please look at your past. It will help you also to know who is the right person, because at least now itakupea clues. Like, I have dated this kind of people. Although kuna wale umedate ukasema I will never date such kind of a person. You see, also that is also something that will help you. So you have a do's and a don't list. But if you are in a place where you can just have it and in your head he's a good guy, he's caring, he's very respectful, he's this and this and this and this, and those are some of the things that you're working with, then okay, the checklist is in your head and you can also check it. Is he a father figure? Can he be a good father when we have kids? Can he be a good leader when, you know, because a man is a leader, can he lead us? Where is he going? His vision, what is his vision for the future? You know, what does he want this family to be and to go? Such things are things that you need to consider when you're finding your person. So check your past if you're in that category of hata sijui ninapenda mtu anakaaje. If someone was to ask you what is your ideal person or what is the right spouse for you and you don't know, check the people that you've been dating. Itakupatia clue, because the main reason you dated them and accepted them, kuna kitu ilikuwa attract to them. Inaweza kuwa ilikuwa personality yao, inaweza kuwa kwa huyu mwingine ilikuwa another thing, but that is one of those things that you liked about this person that made you to date them in the first place. You can pick that as some of your preferences and keep them. Sawa. For you to find the right person, you also have to work on yourself to be the right person. One thing about getting the right spouse is that you also have to be a good spouse in the first place. You can get a good spouse, but if you yourself are not the right person for that right spouse, they won't accept you. There's this quote I heard about you being the right person. If you have your ideal person in your head, kila mtu anakuanga na mse mwenye anasema mimi nikipata mse anakaa A, B, C and D, huyo ndio the right person. Then if huyo mse ameletwa mbele yako leo as you are presentiwe, will they also say that you're the right person for them? It's a thing that you need to think about very hardly, and I think that is one thing that helped me even to mature up and to grow up, because when I was 24, I had an ideal person. Nilikuwa nasema nataka this. Okay, sikuwa na things naweza sema nimeandika chini. I have picked ninis kutoka kwa watu. Already tunakuanga already tumeshapatiwa moja ile ya tall, dark and handsome. So of course me nilikuwa najua I don't like tall guys. I wanted very slender people because all of my pasts were small, and I knew that nikipata hadi bwana, he had to fit some category in terms of the physique. He had to be like very slender per se, but mdogo, and then almost my height. Unajua, I didn't have it written down, but it was subconscious. When I looked back, I knew I love this kind of people, and for this reason. And then I went one by one with each ex, and I was like, what did I like about him? What attracted me to him? That helped me also to form a basis of preferences. So after I did that, it was so easy for me to say, now this is my ideal person. I need someone who has a bit of XA, I need a bit of XB, I need a bit of XC, I need a bit of XD, and then I combined that person and I formed an ideal person. After I formed the ideal person, I brought that quote: when the ideal person is presented to you, will they accept you, or will they consider you the ideal person for them as well? And I realized that I was so far from it. I was so far from being the ideal person for my ideal person. So I worked hard on myself. I worked hard on my esteem. I know I had a very high esteem, but I needed to boost it the more. I needed to be comfortable in my own body. I needed to be comfortable with how I talk and the level I am in terms of life. I needed to be so comfortable and so real, because I also needed a real person. So I needed to also work on being real, and I say it as it is. Sometimes it hurts people, but I think ukifika your place where you want realness, you're ready to also be told real stuff. When someone can come and tell you, you know, Marion, I don't like your waist, it's too big. I don't like your hips, they are too large. I don't like this, they are too large. And you're in a place where you can accept it. When someone comes and tells you, you know what, I don't like your dent, but I think that if you do A, B, and C, you can work on it. and I needed such a real person, yeah, and I worked on myself to be real. And when that person was coming, as much as they were not 100% everything I wanted, there was 70%, 80% of what I needed and what I wanted, and I compromised on the less, because you have to be in a place where you need to. That's why I'm saying the right person does not need to be the perfect person. It is just someone that is right for you. We have said right means it is justifiable. I justified the fact that he's the right person. I accepted him, acceptable, to be the right person for me, because then again, if I don't accept him, then I won't feel comfortable even walking with him, even accepting him and being comfortable enough to say I do to him in front of people. So of course you need to get to that place. So I also worked on myself. I put effort on things that I thought I needed to work on. I didn't like my hair. I have very few hair in my head, and I didn't like kushukwa, and it's something that I honestly did not like. And funny enough, all my 3 exes liked people with dreadlocks. At the time I did not have dreadlocks. So when I ended my last relationship, when I ended my first 2 relationships were people who loved people with dreadlocks. My first boyfriend was mse wa ghetto, so of course he wanted someone mwenye akona nati, someone mrui to some extent, but mi sikuwa mrui, but I had that character of ruiness. Okay, but hapo tulikuwa tu tunajitafuta, so tuseme tu nilikuwa tu hiyo space. The second guy that I dated wanted, and he loved girls with dreadlocks. Tulikuwa tukikutana na mademu wako na dread, he would stand, tell them I love your hair, I love your dreadlocks, and he would comment. So there's this time nimekaa tu chini. I didn't like kushukwa, but I also wasn't sure if I wanted to do locks. Juu nilikuwa najiambia nikeka dread na venye niko na nywele kidogo I will look funny, but I still decided you know what, sipende kushukwa, let me do the dreads. But okay, I didn't know I did it because of them, because of course unaona sasa ni my exes, and I didn't know the guy that was coming kama pia atapenda dread. Funny enough, the guy I dated after the other 2 also liked dready, and now my husband, who we are married to, likes dready. So you see, it's a pattern that I had, and I noticed that he also loves it, and it's something that I needed to work on. So I put them on, and they helped me to be part of the right person for the right person that was coming. So again, you need to also work on yourself. It is slow but sure growth, and you need to be very intentional with it. Don't date for the sake of dating. And if you've been in that space where you're just dating for the sake of dating, please don't use your past, because again, it won't be very reliable in terms of looking for the right spouse. Now, another thing you can use with finding the right spouse is the willingness to be the right spouse. You see, one thing I learned about being the right person is that you need to be in that space where you're willing enough to want to be a wife or husband, yeah? Because unajua, when I was 24, I usually say mtu mwenye alinikatia at that time, aki ukweli, I was good. I had a good character. Nilikuwa mpole, nilikuwa maybe some of the things that I am now, but I was not willing to be someone's wife. Tulikuwa tunaenda kanisa, tunaitiwa single meetings, tunainua mikono, tunaombewa na tuna receive mabwana, but I was still not willing. So another way of you being a spouse is you have to be willing to actually be as someone's spouse, because unless you're willing, it means that hata hiyo kuolewa ni kani forced. You're doing it out of pressure, and maybe pressure of age. Una feel maybe I'm too old, I want to settle. No, but take your time, walk in it, trust the process, and grow into it, and now have the willingness also to want to be a spouse. And that will also find someone who is willing to be a spouse. That's another way. For them to be right, they have to be willing, because if they're not willing, then they're not the right spouse. Send you. I've had people who are talking about finding spouses, and they say, me, God spoke to me and told me my husband will be this, or my husband is that particular person, and they married that particular person because God told them that is their spouse. So I don't know about you. If God can speak to you or has spoken to you about who your spouse is, excuse me, then that is the right person for you. That is your spouse. No argument there. If you've had dreams or visions about your spouse, then again, that is one way of finding your spouse. I don't know where you have taken your spiritual level to, but if you're in that space, that's another way of finding a spouse. Unajua unaambia God, by the way, I come hivi na hivi na hivi, but si necessarily kumwambia. It's like you are in prayer in a place of consecrate yourself, and you are really seriously, honestly seeking for a spouse. Another thing is, another way you can find a spouse, unajua, God can use a pastor to prophesy to you, and you're prophesied that you will get married by this year, and your man maybe kwa hiyo prophecy inakuja na maybe hata venye anakaa ama venye anakaa. You know, that's another way of finding a spouse. And that is also something to look out for. Another thing I need to mention about finding the right spouse is also timing. Venye nimesema, when I was 24, I wasn't ready. I wasn't really willing to be someone's husband, someone's wife. So in that time, I wasn't ready. But when I got to 26, I started settling into the idea, and I was now very willing. It's like I had consented myself and my life to be under someone, because you see, being a wife is that kuna hiyo part tunaongea about submission. Truly you have to submit. Na submission imaanishi kupatia mtu chakula kama umepiga magoti, but is more or less allowing this person to lead you. So I wasn't ready. Sikuwa nimepeana hiyo consent. Did I want to get married at 24? Yes, I was very, after I was receiving prophecies, but I had not consented in my heart, in my I knew that I wasn't ready. So sikuwa, the timing was not right. So also find someone who's in that time, in that space where they are ready also to get married like you. Yeah, and then that will be some way of finding the right spouse. Just to finish, there's a lot that we can talk about in terms of finding the right spouse, but I think that it is subjected to you. I am just giving out guidelines, so kindly you can feel free to use any guideline that I have given, or some of the tips that I've given in you finding your spouse. But it is not the end of life. If you still haven't found the right person will come. The right timing also will come. Your preferences are things that can also grow while you also grow. But sana utapata tu una circle within similar things, especially in terms of personality. But in terms of maybe someone who is respectful, someone in terms of a provider, your preference of or understanding of a provider will change as you grow, you know, such things. So it might not necessarily change, but at least you will have a better understanding of who is a provider when you get to that space, and it will make it easier for you. If you are a mature, independent lady that umeshazoea kukaa peke yako, you have passed the age bracket of the early 20s, ushaanza kukaa nika pia utatoka late 20s, unakanika unakaribia early 30s, and you're not very sure about story na find the right person because you feel like you're too mature to handle any guy that comes your way. There is still hope, because I think that peer timings also vary, and as a mature independent lady, my question to you is still the same. Are you sure you have consented to be under someone? Because that is one of the things that might make men run away from you. As much as you're independent, are you ready to allow someone else to come and rule and lead you and take the place of where unajua wewe saizi ndio unajiambia I need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, but are you ready to allow another man? Because that is what we mean by allowing or giving consent, or being the willingness to even step in the shoe of a wife. Is are you ready to consent to another person leading you, to another person helping you pay the bills, and you don't feel like him paying the bills, that he's subjecting you to be a lesser being? Yeah, because unless you get to differentiate all those, then again utakuanga hiyo place unafeel mimi na feel ni kama sitaolewa kwa sababu wanaume watu wanataka watu wenye sijui wanakaja. Mimi nishaanza kuwa independent, mimi niko ile space, I just need someone who will come and give me a baby and I'm out. You know, you need to allow yourself to be loved. And I learned one thing about independent girls. And when you are so used to paying your own bills, because I was in that space, I felt like everyone that was coming, I needed them to be above me. in terms of if I was living in a one bedroom, lazima akuje either kwa hiyo one bedroom ama two. Mse mwenye anakaa kwa bedsitter, I felt like awe ni mchezo, because you see hatuta relate, because na feel I am doing more than you. If you're driving and maybe you are a CEO of a company, you feel like you want someone either at par or someone who is earning more than you, at ndio submit to such. But then God humbled me, and I learned that provision per se does not necessarily mean that they need to earn more than me, or they need to be living in a bigger house than I do, or they need to drive a better car than you do. That it came from just making sure that do you have food? It doesn't matter. Even if so now, because you have allowed him to lead you, are you willing to work with what he's bringing to the table? Where we are talking about acceptable. Is he acceptable? Yeah, because you see, provision is provision. It doesn't mean that just because I'm providing 20,000 and the other one is providing 70,000, that the one who is providing 70,000 is more of a provider than the one who is providing 20K. Yeah, so I guess as women and as a society, we also need to change our definition of some of these things, because provision and security and leadership is different from what we have been defining out here. But all that said and done, I know that all of us shall not lack our mate. That is what I know, that none of us shall lack our mate, because there is the right person for you. And if he is not there, I've had my spiritual mom, I've had her say that she prayed. She was like, God, if there is no man for me, create one for me, because he's the creator. And by creating doesn't mean necessarily ati atazaliwa leo, kwa sababu ukiwa 40 ama 30, of course, huwezi oa mtu mdogo. Nowadays, society is changing, because we are saying age is but a number. But again, okay, when we're talking about God creating for you, it doesn't necessarily mean that atazaliwa. It also means that kuna mtu mwenye yuko but ayuko hiyo, but God atamcreate, atamfunza kukua maybe the right person for you in terms of hata vitu zenye anampitisha, so that he will meet the preferences that you have. And that is how God does it. But otherwise, be open. Women, be in a place where you are available to be found, because again it says he who finds a wife, it is a man who finds. So sisi wenye tuko outspoken huku tunasema we are, society may change, women nowadays are proposing. I don't agree with that notion, because it is a man who finds a wife, it is not the other way around. So allow yourself to be found, tafadhali. Even if you already know that this is the right person, bado mwache akufind, in terms of let him lead you in where the relationship is going, so that you don't miss out necessarily on the aspect of the chase and being chased aspect of the relationship, because it is very important, even in terms of just settling in and causing there to be order, and for us to know that he's the man, he's the one leading, and us, we're here to walk with him and help him lead, and as we follow. And again, another thing about finding the right spouse is that you cannot work together unless you agree. So make sure the person that you're finding is someone that you can work with. I've had ladies, especially the ones that are born again, wanasema mimi naenda kuchukua mse huko nje street, someone who is a smoker, someone who is not born again, and you feel like you will lead them to salvation. My goodness, that is the hardest task that any human can put on themselves. Bible is very clear. It is the Holy Spirit that convicts people to salvation. So don't do the work of the Holy Spirit. Let the Holy Spirit do his work. Yours is to work with whatever that is already available. He's a good guy. My friend has, I have a friend who has been falling or finding or being found by men basically that are not born again. Lakini ukiangalia mwanaume unaona yenyewe this is a good provider because he's working, he's doing a very good job. They are very stable financially. They are macho na kafiti, you know, their definition of good and handsome and everything that you want. That package is there of leadership and everything. But but her problem always was the fact that they were not born again. And she was one day saying that, you know what, mimi nitadate mmoja and I caused them to change, because amesikia stories za watu wengine wakisema wao walipendania kwa dunia, oh mimi nilikuwa nimeokoka, yeye ameokoka, and then the guy finally gave their lives to Christ, and she tried. But the problem is, especially when you're the woman, okay, even the man, you see, when niko third floor na uko first floor and I'm trying to pull you up, possibility is, tunasema the law of gravity, sindio? Gravity pulls you downwards, meaning huyu mwenye ako chini hata kama hana nguvu ako na higher advantage of pulling you down than you are pulling them up. So I wouldn't subject you to such, I wouldn't ask you to subject yourself to such kind of hard work where you have to intentionally every day work hard for this person, do everything that you need to do, force him to go to church, especially if he doesn't want to do what. No, don't put yourself in that place. Just even if akona all the preferences and the qualities, as long as you guys are not agreeing on the fundamental principles and values and core values, please don't settle. I have had that conversation with a few of young people, and there's a lady who told me that the husband found her when she was in the world and she was drinking and she was smoking, and the husband was born again, but right now she's born again and they go to church together. So she feels like it is the husband who pulled her to salvation. But this is what I think, and I told her, even if your husband created that platform for you to come as you are, unless he did that, you wouldn't have given yourself to Christ if you did not want to. Yeah, because ungekujanga to church, but ka ujiski utakam to church kwa sababu unataka kumfurahisha. But until it is personal, where you decide, you know what, I want to walk this journey with Christ, you won't do it. You wouldn't have done it. And she agreed, as much as bado ana insisting, the husband drew her closer. And I was like, no, he created a platform for you. He created a platform for you. He helped you come closer to God, and you being in that place, and you needed that, because at that time she was going through a lot and she needed someone who would just love on her even with her weakness. And that also helped her to love on God and to love on this man and even want to settle with him. It doesn't necessarily mean that this man led her to Christ. It's just that he helped her and made the conditions suitable for the lady to want to give her life to Christ. So please don't try to be the Holy Spirit. Please don't try to be the Holy Spirit when you're looking for a spouse. It is a draining journey, and it is very stressful. So don't put yourself in such a place. Just to walk your journey of faith with fear and trembling, and the right person will find you. The right person will find you. Yeah, so I don't know if I have helped you, but I hope I have. And if I have, kindly leave a comment down below. If you've experienced one of the things that we have shared also, don't forget to comment. Tell me what you would like us to talk about again, and I will do the same. I was thinking of doing love languages, but again, waiting on your feedback so that I can know. If I get 5 people who will comment, let's do it. If you can comment down below and say love languages, and you say love languages, I don't mind doing it. But before that, see you on the next vlog. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.